A 900-foot Iranian cargo ship, a U.S. Navy destroyer, one warning, then gunfire. The world's most critical energy choke point is closed, and right now, nobody knows how to reopen it. Since February 28, 2026, shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has been largely blocked. That single fact is reshaping the global economy in real time. The International Energy Agency has called this the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. Not the largest this year, the largest ever. Before this crisis, roughly 20% of global oil flows, 20 million barrels per day, moved through this single waterway every single day. That flow has now collapsed to a fraction of what it was, and the consequences are hitting your gas pump, your grocery store, and your government's budget simultaneously. If you want to understand what's really happening in the Strait of Hormuz and why it affects you directly, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. It started on February 28th when the United States and Israel launched an air campaign against Iran and killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Iran's response was immediate and calculated. The IRGC issued warnings forbidding passage through the strait, launched 21 confirmed attacks on merchant ships, and reportedly laid sea mines in the waterway. Within days, on March 2nd, a senior IRGC official confirmed the strait was formally closed and threatened any vessel that tried to pass. Major shipping firms suspended operations, insurance coverage evaporated, the world's most important 33 kilometers of water went dark. Here is what almost nobody is reporting. Iran didn't just close the strait with missiles. It closed it with something far cheaper, far harder to remove, and far more terrifying to commercial shipping. So what is the weapon that has the entire global shipping industry frozen? The geography of the strait itself is what makes Iran's position so powerful. Even during peacetime, only a few ships could transit at a time, forced through two narrow lanes roughly 2 miles wide each. Iran's city of Bandar Abbas sits directly at the mouth of the strait, allowing Iran to deploy boats, missiles, and drones and reach any passing vessel within minutes. All in all, Hormuz's geography amplifies Iran's anti-access and area denial leverage at low cost, said Basil Germond, a professor of international security at Lancaster University. And then there are the mines. Iran has reportedly laid sea mines in the strait, and defense experts say tanker crews have close to no ability to detect the threat in time. Clearing a minefield takes months. Even if a ceasefire holds, experts warn it could take months on end before shipping returns to normal. So what does this actually cost the world? When 20% of global oil vanishes from the market, not for a week, but for nearly 2 months, the numbers become almost impossible to comprehend. And they are getting worse. Brent crude surged 10 to 13% in the first days of the crisis. That was just the beginning. Gas prices in the United States hit $4.11 per gallon, up from $2.98 on February 28th, the day the war began. The Philippines became the first country in the world to declare a national energy emergency. Around 70% of food imports for Gulf states transit the Strait of Hormuz, triggering severe food security challenges and grocery shortages across the region. Wall Street analysts are now openly discussing the possibility of oil reaching $200 a barrel, a level that Bloomberg economics projects would double the inflation and growth impact, creating a stagflationary shock capable of reshaping central bank policy and midterm election outcomes. Global oil supply fell by 10.1 million barrels per day in March alone, the largest single-month disruption in recorded history. Washington has been trying to force the strait back open. But every move it makes, Tehran counters. And the back and forth between the two powers in just the past 72 hours shows exactly how close to the edge this situation really is. On Friday, Iran's foreign minister suggested the strait was fully open. Oil prices dropped 10% within hours. Then Trump announced the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports would remain in full force. Within 24 hours, the IRGC closed the strait again, citing repeated breaches of trust. Iranian gunboats fired on a tanker attempting passage. A second vessel was struck by a projectile. Lloyd's List reported that traffic in the strait had come to a complete halt. Then, on Sunday, the U.S. Navy fired on and seized the Iranian cargo ship Tuska, a 900-foot vessel, after it tried to bypass the blockade in the Gulf of Oman. U.S. Marines boarded and took custody of the ship. Trump simultaneously threatened to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants if a deal isn't signed, while telling Axios he believes the concept of a deal is already done. Delayed reveal, pacing shift, slowdown here, but here is the detail that changes everything about how you should understand this standoff. A Financial Times investigation found that 580 million in bets on falling oil prices were placed just 15 minutes before Trump announced a pause in attacks for talks on March 23rd. A second suspicious series of bets worth 950 million appeared again on April 7th, shortly before another policy shift was announced. Investigations into potential insider trading are now underway. The Strait isn't just a military battlefield, it has become a financial one too. So where does this end? Three paths are on the table right now, and only one of them avoids a deeper global economic catastrophe. Negotiations are continuing. Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner are heading to Islamabad for the next round of talks with Iran. Key sticking points remain: the fate of Iran's uranium stockpiles, limits on enrichment, and the formal reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. For shipping to resume, the industry needs confidence that a ceasefire will hold. Because, as one analyst put it, if you're halfway through the Hormuz Channel and the ceasefire breaks down, your crew is in a shooting gallery. The IEA's current forecast assumes a resumption of regular deliveries by mid-year, but acknowledges that scenario may prove too optimistic. Chevron's CEO warned that the physical consequences of the closure are already working their way around the world, and the window to prevent the worst outcomes is closing fast. Iran's parliament speaker said it plainly this week. Strategically, they have been defeated in the face of us. Washington says a deal is close. Tehran says the blockade must end first, and in the middle, tankers sit anchored, cargo rots, gas prices climb, and the world waits to see whether 33 kilometers of water will determine the shape of the next decade. The next 72 hours of talks in Islamabad may be the most consequential diplomatic meeting of 2026. We will cover every development as it happens. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, because this story is not slowing down.